He was like a background dancer for the Digital Underground. Digital Underground was a group out of the Bay in California.
Ice Cube is one of the most respected figures in entertainment, transitioning from hardcore rap legend to Hollywood heavyweight. But his journey to the top wasn't always smooth, and not everyone got along with the iconic star. Behind the scenes, there were clashes, conflicts, and serious tensions that most fans never knew about. From explosive on-set arguments to long-standing grudges, Ice Cube has had his share of feuds with fellow actors. Curious about who made it onto his list? Here are the top 6 actors Ice Cube hated the most. Number 6. Mike Epps. The relationship between Ice Cube and comedian Mike Epps has been complicated, marked by periods of collaboration followed by public tension that left fans wondering what really happened between these two entertainment powerhouses. Their work together on the Friday sequel, Next Friday, seemed successful on the surface, but underlying issues would eventually bubble up in ways that surprised the entertainment industry. Mike Epps brought his unique comedic energy to the Friday franchise, playing Day Day Jones, a character that became a fan favorite. His chemistry with Ice Cube seemed natural on screen, and audiences loved their interactions. However, behind the cameras, the dynamic was reportedly more strained than viewers realized, with creative differences and personality clashes creating friction during production.
It's up in the air, man. Both teams are so good, and Steph Curry, he's like some type of magical wizard or something.
The tensions became more public when discussions about future Friday installments began. Ice Cube, as both star and producer, had specific visions for the franchise's direction. Epps reportedly had different ideas about his character's development and the overall tone of potential sequels. These creative disagreements created distance between the two, with both men occasionally making comments in interviews that suggested unresolved issues. Money matters also allegedly played a role in their strained relationship. As the franchise grew in popularity and cultural significance, negotiations about compensation for potential sequels reportedly became contentious. Epps felt his contribution to the franchise's success warranted greater financial recognition, while Ice Cube, wearing his producer hat, had budget considerations and profit-sharing structures to manage. The situation escalated when Epps made comments in interviews that some interpreted as disrespectful toward Ice Cube's role in the franchise. Whether intentional or misunderstood, these remarks created additional strain. Ice Cube, known for his no-nonsense attitude and fierce protection of his projects, didn't appreciate what he perceived as undermining his creative authority and business decisions. Social media added fuel to the fire.
Pages and, looking at all the notes I had. I had a note in there one day, I was like...
With fans and media outlets amplifying every comment and perceived slight between the two. What might have been resolvable creative differences became public spectacle, making reconciliation more difficult as both men had to consider their public images and fan expectations. Despite the tension, both Ice Cube and Mike Epps have occasionally made conciliatory statements, suggesting that their relationship isn't one of pure hatred, but rather complicated professional dynamics mixed with personal pride. The entertainment industry's competitive nature and the pressures of maintaining successful franchises often create conflicts even between talented collaborators. Mike Epps has never been the kind of entertainer to stay silent when he feels slighted, and over the years, that blunt honesty has pulled him into several public clashes within the entertainment industry. Unlike rap feuds that often escalate into prolonged wars, Epps's conflicts have mostly lived in interviews, social media posts, and offhand remarks. Brief flare-ups rooted in ego, competition, and the constant pressure to stay relevant in comedy.
Yeah, Donald Trump, man, that motherfucker wouldn't even, he don't even, y'all think he down there right now? He ain't even in that house.
Another most visible and widely discussed tension, aside from Ice Cube, involves Kevin Hart. As Kevin Hart's career skyrocketed in the early 2000s, Mike openly accused him of borrowing jokes and adopting a comedic style that felt uncomfortably familiar. The comments struck a nerve with fans, largely because they touched on a sensitive issue in stand-up comedy. originality. Kevin denied the accusations and largely refused to engage publicly, choosing instead to let his work speak for itself. Over time, the back and forth faded, and while the two never became close collaborators, the tension cooled enough to quietly dissolve. Mike also found himself orbiting controversy during periods when Cat Williams was openly criticizing fellow comedians. Williams' broad attacks on the comedy world occasionally included figures like Epps, though never with the sustained focus seen in other rivalries.
I done been standing right next to Jay-Z at the Latin Quarters. He was about to go on the stage. Nigga had a...
Epps responded selectively, sometimes dismissing the comments and other times pushing back. But the situation never hardened into a full-blown feud. It reflected less a personal vendetta and more the volatile environment of stand-up comedy, where perception, respect, and reputation are constantly contested. There were also moments of friction with D.L. Hewley, though these were brief and largely fueled by disagreements over recognition and hierarchy in comedy. Comments made in interviews suggested tension, but neither comedian pursued it long enough for the public to label it a real feud. In many ways, it was emblematic of how competition among veteran comedians often simmers just below the surface without fully boiling over. Beyond individual names, Mike Epps has repeatedly clashed with parts of the industry itself. He has publicly criticized promoters, venues, and business partners over issues related to pay, contracts, and perceived disrespect. These conflicts stemmed from Epps's belief that his contributions were sometimes undervalued.
I just wanted to see the excitement of Mike coming out the back. And I was having a good time until they put the camera on his booty cheeks.
Especially during earlier stages of his career, when negotiating power was uneven. While these disputes didn't always make headlines, they reinforced his reputation as someone unwilling to quietly accept terms he felt were unfair. What separates Epps from many of his peers is that his conflicts rarely define him for long. He tends to speak emotionally in the moment, then move forward without dragging resentment behind him. As his career matured, the frequency and intensity of these disputes diminished, replaced by a steadier presence in film, television, and stand-up. For fans of the Friday franchise, the Ice Cube-Mike Epps tension remains disappointing, as many hope to see their on-screen chemistry continue in additional sequels. The personal conflicts demonstrate how business pressures and creative differences can strain even seemingly successful partnerships. That Friday franchise tension was complicated, but wait until you hear about the next actor on the list. Number 5. Chris Tucker. In the early 1990s, Chris Tucker was a young, high-energy stand-up comedian grinding on the club circuit. He wasn't a household name yet. His biggest exposure came from brief appearances on HBO's Def Comedy Jam, where his rapid-fire delivery and fearless energy immediately stood out. He was loud, unpredictable, and completely different from the laid-back West Coast comedy-style audiences we're used to. At the same time, Ice Cube was transitioning from music to film, developing what would become Friday. The movie was intentionally small, grounded, and built around realism.
People that won Academy Awards. Friday, to me, is the Up and Smoke and the Animal House of black films.
Cube didn't want polished Hollywood actors. He wanted people who felt authentic to the neighborhood and culture he was portraying. During casting, Ice Cube and director F. Gary Gray were looking for someone to play Smokey, Craig's reckless, fast-talking best friend. The role needed a performer who could steal scenes without overpowering the story. Someone naturally funny, not scripted funny. When Chris Tucker auditioned, his energy was undeniable. He brought something chaotic but real, the kind of person everyone knew growing up. Still, casting Tucker was a risk. He was inexperienced in film, and his style was exaggerated compared to the more grounded tone Cube brought as Craig. But that contrast became the magic. Ice Cube has since said that Tucker's performance worked because Smokey was meant to be too much, the embodiment of bad decisions and nervous bravado. Tucker accepted the role for a very small paycheck, around $10,000 by most accounts, because he needed the exposure. There was no guarantee the movie would succeed. Friday was a low-budget project, filmed quickly, without studio expectations of becoming a classic. When Friday was released in 1995, Chris Tucker instantly became the breakout star.
I guess he did. I did it. I don't know if he did it.
What did you sing?
Smokey's lines, voice, and physical comedy overshadowed his limited screen time and turned him into a cultural icon, almost overnight. The performance launched Tucker's film career, leading directly to roles in The Fifth Element, Money Talks, and eventually Rush Hour. Then he suddenly disappeared. Chris Tucker's absence from the Friday sequels has been one of Hollywood's most discussed mysteries, and while multiple factors contributed to his decision not to return, his relationship with Ice Cube played a significant role. What started as a groundbreaking collaboration that launched Tucker's film career ended with enough tension that they never worked together again on screen. However, behind the scenes, creative tensions emerged even during the original production. Ice Cube, as co-writer and star, had specific ideas about the film's tone and message. Tucker, bringing his own comedic instincts and improvisational style, sometimes pushed boundaries that Ice Cube felt strayed from the script's intent. These creative differences, while manageable during one production, planted seeds for future conflicts. The money issue became the most publicized source of tension. Tucker's asking price for Next Friday was reportedly significantly higher than what Ice Cube and the producers were willing or able to pay.
But you be bucking up against that line a little bit. You know, you got a lot of black jokes. You know what I'm saying? You do.
Well,
Tucker felt his contribution to the original film's success justified a substantial compensation increase. Ice Cube, managing budgetary realities, couldn't meet Tucker's demands without jeopardizing the entire production. Beyond finances, Tucker's evolving personal and religious convictions played a role. He became uncomfortable with some of the content in the Friday franchise, particularly drug references and language. This moral stance conflicted with the franchise's established tone, creating an impasse. Ice Cube, committed to maintaining the series' authenticity and edge, wasn't willing to significantly alter the content to accommodate Tucker's changed perspective. The situation created lasting frustration for Ice Cube. From his perspective, he had given Tucker a career-defining role, and Tucker's unwillingness to return felt like abandonment of the franchise and their partnership. Ice Cube had to recast and reimagine the sequel without a key component of the original's success, a challenging position for any filmmaker and producer. Tucker, in various interviews over the years, has addressed his absence from the sequels.
For the last 2 years, I've been touring all over the country. I've been just having a great time. So I went back to my roots because I wanted to.
Citing the money issues and his personal evolution. However, his comments sometimes included subtle criticisms of the franchise's direction that Ice Cube reportedly found disrespectful. Each public statement seemed to widen the gap between the two rather than healing old wounds. The Chris Tucker situation highlights how business decisions and personal evolution can destroy professional relationships. What could have been a legendary ongoing partnership became one of Hollywood's great what-if stories, with both men moving forward in their careers, but never reconciling their differences or reuniting on screen. For Ice Cube, the Tucker situation represents not just a business frustration, but a personal disappointment. He had invested in creating a platform that showcased Tucker's talents, and the inability to continue that collaboration remained a sore point in his career. Chris Tucker's exit left a mark, but the next actor's situation involved even more personal betrayal. Number 4. The conflict with John Singleton. The relationship between Ice Cube and legendary director John Singleton was complex, evolving from promising collaboration to bitter disappointment. Singleton gave Ice Cube his first major acting role in Boys and the Hood,
NWA and Eazy-E's album, and I said, I'm gonna make this movie, it's gonna be called Boys in the Hood.
a film that changed both their careers and became a cultural landmark. However, their professional relationship deteriorated in ways that created lasting tension. Singleton's decision to cast Ice Cube in Boys and the Hood was risky. Cube was known as a hardcore rapper with no acting experience, and many questioned whether he could handle a serious dramatic role. Singleton saw something in Cube that others missed, believing his authentic street credibility and natural intensity would translate to powerful screen presence. The gamble paid off spectacularly.
Yo, what's up? This is Ice Cube. It's time to go undercover on the internet.
With Cube delivering a memorable performance that launched his acting career. Initially, both men seemed poised for ongoing collaboration. They shared similar backgrounds, understood South Central Los Angeles culture intimately, and had complementary visions about telling authentic stories about Black urban life. Industry observers expected them to become a powerhouse director-actor team, creating multiple important films together. However, creative differences emerged during discussions about future projects. Both men had strong personalities and clear visions.
Who I was as much as possible. You know, you get into entertainment, a lot of people just lose their mind.
Sometimes too strong to coexist on the same production. Disagreements about script choices, character development, and storytelling approaches created friction that made collaboration increasingly difficult. The tension intensified when Singleton began working with other actors on subsequent films. Ice Cube reportedly felt that after he helped make Boys in the Hood successful, Singleton should have prioritized their partnership in future projects. From Cube's perspective, loyalty mattered, and Singleton's decision to build relationships with other actors felt like betrayal of their initial bond. Business disputes allegedly contributed to their falling out. As both men's careers grew and their market values increased, negotiations about potential collaborations became complicated. Financial expectations, profit participation, and creative control became sticking points that proved insurmountable. The situation was complicated by media narratives and industry politics. As two prominent Black figures in Hollywood, their relationship was often scrutinized and discussed publicly. Comments made in interviews were analyzed and sometimes taken out of context, creating additional strain. Both men occasionally made statements that the other interpreted as disrespectful or dismissive. Personal pride played a significant role in their inability to reconcile. Neither Ice Cube nor Singleton was known for backing down or compromising their principles. Finding common ground became nearly impossible. Their mutual stubbornness, while serving them well professionally, prevented resolution of their differences. The conflict represents a tragedy, in some ways, as both men lost a potentially fruitful creative partnership. Singleton's talent for directing powerful urban dramas, combined with Ice Cube's screen presence and cultural authenticity, could have produced multiple important films. Instead, their relationship became one of Hollywood's great missed opportunities. For Ice Cube, the Singleton situation demonstrated how quickly professional relationships can sour and how difficult reconciliation becomes once trust is broken. The disappointment ran deep because the initial collaboration had been so meaningful and successful. Unfortunately, tragedy struck when it was least expected. On April 28, 2019, the film world, and especially the Black creative community, lost a true visionary with the passing of director John Singleton. The acclaimed filmmaker died after being taken off life support following a stroke that had left him in a coma, leaving fans, colleagues, and friends mourning the loss of a singular talent. As the one-year anniversary of his passing approached, Ice Cube paid tribute to his longtime friend and collaborator on social media, sharing a black-and-white throwback photo from the set of Singleton's 1991 Boys in the Hood. In the photo shared by Ice Cube, he sits behind the wheel of a car while Gooding Jr. stands beside him, and Singleton appears to be giving precise instructions. The image captures a moment of collaboration and creativity, a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the making of one of cinema's most iconic films. Rehearsing the Crenshaw scene for Boys in the Hood, Cube captioned the photo, alluding to the movie's unforgettable drive-by sequence. He added, "John never told us that it would be real gunfire during the scene. All reactions were real. John was brilliant. I miss him." Singleton's vision, fearlessness, and commitment to authentic storytelling left an indelible mark on film and culture. And through the memories of those who worked closest with him, his legacy continues to inspire generations. John Singleton gave Ice Cube his start, but unfortunately, their partnership soured, and the next conflict involved an even bigger Hollywood name. Number 3. Jerry Heller. While Jerry Heller wasn't an actor, his inclusion in Ice Cube's list of most hated figures in entertainment is essential, because their conflict profoundly impacted Cube's entire career trajectory and worldview about the entertainment industry. Heller, as NWA's manager, played a central role in one of hip-hop's most infamous business disputes. The relationship between Ice Cube and Jerry Heller started positively. Heller helped guide NWA's early career, securing deals and navigating the music industry's complexities. For young artists from Compton with revolutionary music but little business experience, Heller's management seemed valuable and necessary for their success. However, Ice Cube began noticing discrepancies in how money was distributed within the group. As NWA's popularity exploded and revenue increased dramatically, Cube felt his compensation didn't reflect his significant contributions as a primary songwriter and performer. His suspicions about unfair treatment grew as he examined contracts and royalty statements more closely. The breaking point came when Cube discovered what he believed were deliberately deceptive business practices. Contract terms that seemed favorable initially revealed themselves as predatory upon closer inspection. Royalty rates, publishing rights, and profit-sharing arrangements all appeared structured to benefit Heller and certain group members, while shortchanging Cube's contributions. Heller's close relationship with Eazy-E complicated matters further. Cube felt that Heller manipulated this relationship to maintain control over the group's business affairs and prevent unified resistance to questionable practices. The perception that Heller was turning group members against each other for his benefit added personal betrayal to business grievances. Ice Cube's decision to leave NWA was driven largely by his conflict with Heller. The move required tremendous courage, as NWA was at the height of their success, and leaving meant abandoning guaranteed income and facing uncertain solo prospects. However, Cube's principles wouldn't allow him to continue what he viewed as an exploitative relationship. The aftermath was brutal, with both sides attacking each other publicly. NWA released diss tracks targeting Ice Cube, widely believed to be influenced by Heller's desire to punish and discredit the departing member. Cube responded with devastating tracks of his own, explicitly calling out Heller's business practices and accusing him of exploitation. Interestingly, Dr. Dre eventually left NWA in 1991 amid growing tensions over money and control, alleging that Jerry Heller and Eazy-E were using divide-and-conquer tactics to manipulate the group and deprive him of royalties. Feeling financially shortchanged, Dre didn't hold back in his early solo work, most famously in the song and video Fuckwit Dre Day, where he directly criticized Heller's management. Dre's departure was facilitated by Suga Knight, co-founder of Death Row Records, who played a key role in helping him break his contract with Ruthless Records. Heller later claimed that Knight and his associates had threatened him with violence to secure Dre's release, underscoring just how high stakes and dangerous the situation had become. The disputes extended beyond Ice Cube, and Dr. Dre J. Yella, another NWA member, later revealed that he too had been financially taken advantage of by Heller, recalling a specific incident in which he lost $93,000. The tensions over money and control painted a picture of mismanagement and mistrust within the group's inner circle. Even after Eazy-E's death, Ruthless Records remained embroiled in controversy. His widow, Tamika Woodswright, became involved in auditing the label's finances, investigating potential irregularities, and exploring whether Heller had mismanaged funds. The story later spilled into Hollywood with the release of the 2015 biopic Straight Outta Compton against Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, NBC Universal, and the film's producers, claiming that his portrayal as the villain was false and damaging. Decades after NWA's rise, the disputes over money, power, and reputation continued to echo, highlighting the complex and often turbulent legacy of one of hip-hop's most influential groups. The feud taught Ice Cube crucial lessons about entertainment industry business practices. His experiences with Heller shaped his approach to subsequent deals, making him extremely cautious about contracts and insistent on maintaining control over his creative output and financial arrangements. This hard-won wisdom served him well throughout his film and music career. Legally, the conflict continued for years through various lawsuits and countersuits. Both sides made accusations about contract violations, unpaid royalties, and defamation. The legal battles added financial costs and emotional stress to an already painful situation. For Ice Cube, the hatred toward Jerry Heller represented more than personal animosity. It symbolized his rejection of exploitative industry practices and his determination to help other artists avoid similar situations. Cube frequently spoke about his experiences as cautionary tales, warning young artists about predatory managers and unfair contracts. The Heller conflict fundamentally shaped Ice Cube's character and career. The betrayal he felt created a fierce independence and business savvy that defined his approach to entertainment. While the experience was painful, it ultimately made Cube a more formidable and successful figure in both music and film. When Heller passed away, Ice Cube's response was notably measured, suggesting that time had perhaps softened some of the anger. However, the scars from their conflict remained, a permanent reminder of the price of trusting the wrong people in the entertainment industry. Jerry Heller's betrayal shaped Cube's entire career, but the next actor created problems of a different kind. Number 2. Bill Maher. The conflict between Ice Cube and Bill Maher represents a different type of tension, rooted in political disagreements and perceived disrespect rather than business disputes. While they're not traditional Hollywood colleagues, their public feud captured significant attention and revealed Ice Cube's unwillingness to tolerate what he viewed as offensive behavior, regardless of someone's status or platform. The core issue stemmed from Bill Maher's use of racially charged language on his HBO show Real Time with Bill Maher. During a 2017 episode, Maher used a racial slur while interviewing Senator Ben Sasse. Although presented as a joke, the comment sparked immediate controversy and outrage across social media and within the entertainment community. Ice Cube, never one to shy away from confrontation when principles are at stake, publicly called out Maher's behavior. He didn't accept apologies or explanations that framed the incident as merely a joke gone wrong. From Cube's perspective, certain words carry historical weight and trauma that no comedic context can excuse or justify. He also views the problem as part of a broader pattern in entertainment, where jokes and content often cross lines under the guise of humor. From cartoons to late-night shows, creators frequently push boundaries without considering the real-life consequences for marginalized communities. Maher's remark, framed as a joke, trivialized the painful reality experienced by Black people, particularly the historical oppression of enslaved individuals and domestic laborers. Cube stresses the importance of accountability and self-awareness in entertainment, emphasizing that not everything is appropriate for humor and that creators must recognize when to refrain from crossing those boundaries. When Ice Cube appeared on Maher's show following the controversy, he didn't pull punches. The appearance became a teaching moment where Cube directly addressed why the language was unacceptable, explaining the historical context and ongoing pain associated with racial slurs. His willingness to confront Maher on his own platform demonstrated Cube's courage and commitment to accountability. The tension between them highlighted broader issues about comedy, free speech, and racial sensitivity. Maher, known for provocative humor and defending comedians' right to push boundaries, found himself on the receiving end of criticism from someone equally uncompromising in their principles. The clash represented two strong personalities with fundamentally different perspectives on acceptable discourse. Ice Cube's response to the Maher situation reflected his evolution as a public figure. Early in his career, Cube's own lyrics contained controversial content that drew criticism. However, his growth and changed perspective on the impact of language informed his response to Maher. He demonstrated that people can evolve and that past mistakes don't prevent calling out current problematic behavior. The conflict also revealed Ice Cube's strategic approach to confrontation. Rather than simply condemning Maher from a distance, he engaged directly, using Maher's platform to educate audiences about why the language was harmful. This approach maximized impact while demonstrating Cube's confidence in articulating his position. Some criticized Ice Cube's response as overly harsh or as limiting comedic freedom. However, Cube maintained that accountability and respect don't limit free speech, but rather create necessary boundaries for civilized discourse. His position resonated with many who appreciated seeing a prominent figure willing to confront inappropriate behavior regardless of professional consequences. The Maher incident demonstrated Ice Cube's broader social consciousness and willingness to engage in difficult conversations about race in America. While primarily known as an entertainer, Cube has consistently used his platform to address social issues, and his confrontation with Maher fit this pattern of principled advocacy. The relationship between Ice Cube and Bill Maher never fully recovered. While both continued their respective careers, the tension remains palpable whenever the incident is discussed. For Ice Cube, the situation represented a line that shouldn't be crossed, regardless of comedic intent or attempted apologies. This conflict showed Ice Cube's principles in action, but the #1 spot goes to someone whose actions created the deepest betrayal. Number 1. Eazy-E and Dr. Dre. The most painful conflicts in Ice Cube's career involved his former NWA bandmates Eazy-E and Dr. Dre. These weren't just professional disagreements, but deeply personal betrayals that shattered a brotherhood forged through shared struggles and revolutionary music. The wounds from these relationships took years to heal, with some never fully recovering before tragedy struck. Ice Cube, Eazy-E, and Dr. Dre started as friends and collaborators with a shared vision of bringing authentic street narratives to hip-hop. They created groundbreaking music that changed the industry and launched gangsta rap into mainstream consciousness.
What the fuck did y'all get from that y'all high-fiving it?
Their chemistry seemed unbreakable, built on mutual respect, shared experiences, and revolutionary artistic vision. The deterioration began with the business disputes involving Jerry Heller. When Ice Cube raised concerns about financial arrangements, he expected support from his brothers in the group. Instead, particularly from Eazy-E, who was closest to Heller, Cube faced resistance and accusations of greed and disloyalty. This lack of support felt like profound betrayal from someone Cube considered family. Eazy-E's relationship with Jerry Heller became the wedge that destroyed NWA's unity. Cube believed Eazy was being manipulated and should have recognized the exploitative business practices. Eazy, however, trusted Heller and viewed Cube's departure as abandonment. This fundamental disagreement about loyalty and business created irreparable damage to their friendship. The public nature of their conflict made everything worse. NWA's diss track, No Vaseline, and Ice Cube's devastating response turned personal conflicts into entertainment industry spectacle.
Y'all know what the motherfucking police trying to tell us backstage?
Lyrics attacked each other personally and professionally, saying things that couldn't be unsaid, and creating wounds that simple apologies couldn't heal. Dr. Dre's position in the conflict was complicated. Initially remaining with NWA after Cube's departure, Dre eventually had his own falling out with Eazy-E and left the group. This should have created common ground with Ice Cube, but their relationship remained strained. Competing solo careers and lingering resentments prevented full reconciliation, despite similar experiences with group dissolution. The competitive nature of their post-NWA careers added ongoing tension. Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and Eazy-E each pursued solo success, and comparisons were inevitable. Every album release, every achievement, and every setback was measured against the others. This competition, amplified by media and fans, prevented healing and cooperation. Personal pride and stubbornness from all parties made reconciliation difficult. None of these strong-willed individuals wanted to appear weak or be the first to apologize. As years passed, the initial conflicts became entrenched positions, with reconciliation requiring someone to admit fault or compromise principles that seemed fundamental to their identities. The tragedy of Eazy-E's death in 1995 from AIDS-related complications brought sudden devastating finality to any possibility of full reconciliation with Cube. While they had begun cautious communication before Eazy's illness, the relationship never fully healed. Eazy's death left Ice Cube with complicated grief, mixing genuine sorrow with unresolved anger and regret about wasted years and words that couldn't be taken back.
Fuck the police is just a warning, that's it. You can't treat people like that and expect them not to rise up.
Ice Cube has spoken in later years about the pain of losing Eazy-E before fully resolving their differences. The conflict taught him harsh lessons about pride, loyalty, and the cost of letting business destroy personal relationships. His reflections reveal someone who recognizes that both sides made mistakes and that stubbornness prevented healing that should have happened. The relationship with Dr. Dre eventually improved somewhat, particularly during the production of the NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton. Working together on the film forced both men to revisit their shared history and confront past conflict. While their relationship never returned to the original brotherhood, they achieved mutual respect and professional cooperation. The film itself became a form of reconciliation, allowing Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and Eazy-E's legacy to be celebrated together. The project honored their revolutionary contribution to music while acknowledging the painful conflicts that tore them apart.
But we exercising our First Amendment as far as I'm concerned.
For Ice Cube, the film represented closure and an opportunity to ensure that their collective achievements weren't forgotten due to personal conflicts. Looking back, Ice Cube recognizes that the conflicts with Eazy-E and Dr. Dre, while rooted in legitimate grievances, were exacerbated by pride, miscommunication, and outside manipulation. The hatred he felt was a really deep hurt and disappointment from people he loved betraying what he felt were fundamental principles and loyalties. The lessons from these conflicts shaped Ice Cube's entire approach to business and relationships in entertainment. He learned to separate business from personal relationships when possible, to address conflicts directly before they escalate, and to value genuine loyalty over convenience. These painful experiences created wisdom that guided his successful transition from music to film and his ability to build lasting professional relationships. For fans of hip-hop history, the conflicts within NWA represent one of the genre's great tragedies. The revolutionary music they created together changed culture permanently, yet the group's implosion demonstrated how success, money, and betrayal can destroy even the strongest bonds. Ice Cube's journey through these conflicts and his eventual growth beyond them shows resilience and maturity that commands respect beyond his artistic achievements. The betrayals by Eazy-E and Dr. Dre remain the most significant hated relationships in Ice Cube's career because they weren't just professional conflicts, but the destruction of brotherhood and shared dreams. While hate might be too strong a word for what eventually evolved into complicated grief and hard-won wisdom, the pain from these conflicts left permanent marks on Ice Cube's life and career. Which conflict surprised you the most? Did Ice Cube's feuds change how you view his career or the entertainment industry? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.